It's Selection Day in the National Football League.
Touchdown intercepted by Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson took it away, and there he goes down the sideline. He's got to go. Polish off the Heisman.
It's D-Day for the deal makers as they look to rein in football's best playmakers.
Oh, sacked by Wadsworth. That's a fourth drop. Now what? Out of the pocket, sack. He's sacked. Oh, he hit him hard. He's sacked by Wadsworth.
For 18 years, we've zeroed in on the very first pick. Who'll it be in our 19th year? We know it's a quarterback.
Back the pass goes deep. Here's the rush. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! That is the most unbelievable touchdown play in a college football game.
Manning back to throw. Looking pass down and out is touchdown. They got it. He scored. Peyton Manning. Give him 6.
The NFL is full of stars, but there's always room for more in the galaxy. It's blast-off time for the class of 1998.
My local mayor wanted to sue me after he saw what I did with this new pressure washer. There's a new power wash nozzle out there, and it's the most brutal cleaning tool you'll ever own. But here's the bad news. In just a few weeks, regulators will force the only company that makes it to completely gut its pressure output. That means weak water flow, pathetic cleaning power, and a nozzle that won't blast through anything like this beast does right now. The current version, called HOFers Pro, is unlike anything you've ever witnessed. That's because it doesn't use electricity, a motor, or a pump of any kind. Instead, it uses a German-engineered high-velocity compression chamber that accelerates your water flow and multiplies.
New York City, the Big Apple. Madison Square Garden, the site of so many major big-time sporting events, and inside at the theater, they're ready. And some of the best players, we'll hear from them very early. Peyton Manning. Will he go first to the Colts? Or will it be Ryan Leaf that goes first to the Colts and or second to the Chargers? Charles Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner. We'll hear from him very early. And the running back that everybody covets, Penn State's Curtis Enis. It's the 63rd annual selection meeting of the National Football League. I look forward every year to just saying that. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and welcome inside here to the theater, along with my usual compatriots, Mel Kiper and Joe Theismann. We have Tom Jackson up on the demo set. We're everywhere. Chris Fowler and our college gang up in Connecticut. We are all over the country. And to steal from Chuck Berry's sweet little 16, we're really rocking in Boston and Miami, FLA. We're up the coast in Jacksonville and Cincinnati, IA. All right, I'll stop now, which is too good to pass up. The first pick in Indianapolis, a later pick in Green Bay. We're live in the heart of Texas and out in the desert in Arizona. And with the most intriguing player early on in West Virginia with Marshall's wide receiver Randy Moss. We'll video teleconference into the Jets and Giants and Baltimore. And Carolina and Tampa Bay and New Orleans and Kansas City and St. Louis in the Windy City in Minnesota, the champion Broncos in San Francisco. Frankly, we're going to run up a hell of a phone bill. Radio, wall to wall, ESPN Radio, noon to 6, ESPN.com, and that's not it. And welcome back to New York. We are eagerly anticipating the start of what may go down in history when we look back 10 years from now as the high watermark draft of the entire decade of the 90s. The Indianapolis Colts have been, which quarterback do they go with? Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. Our Mark Malone is out in Indianapolis. Let's get the last word before it's official. Mark?
Well, the last word is that Bill Polian and Jim Moore, this organization, Boomer, they're not making it public in terms of who they've decided on. They spent many hours last night, very late, trying to separate these two quarterbacks. Bill Polian had told me that earlier in the day, they had them about a tenth of a point apart. They were very, very close. They spent most of the night separating those two. And I had probably one of the most interesting philosophical discussions about quarterbacks with Polian that I've had in a long time. For about an hour last night, we discussed the pros and cons of these two guys. First of all, Polian says that he's not enamored necessarily with big, strong guys, although both of these quarterbacks are 6'5". Peyton Manning, it seems to me, is the guy that has the most experience, and that ultimately is going to be, I think, the difference in this draft. He played the extra year, certainly, as he came back, 6'5", 230. He's got more game time experience. He prepares well. Again, the nickname, the caveman, that he's been tagged with by his teammates because he watches so much film. And when you look at all the intangibles that Bill Polian really researches and looks at in a quarterback, especially with the track record this franchise has had over the last decade or two in terms of quarterbacks, they need to make the right choice. He's not saying Boomer, but I can tell you this. In my gut, if I was playing poker with him, I think it's going to be Peyton Manning.
I think if we had to go out on a limb, that would be our guess. But you know what? They earned this 4 months of keeping everybody in suspense. Let them keep it for another 15 minutes. Let's go quickly to Mel Kiper, and obviously Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, who guys are going to talk about at length, and hopefully at length for the next 12, 14 years. Let's look at overall value. How would you rank the board specifically on the best players available?
I think when you look at it, Chris, Andre Wadsworth could be the next Bruce Smith. Arizona trades down, still gets the best player on my board. Charles Woodson, dynamic, pure cornerback. Then the two quarterbacks, the cerebral quarterback in Manning, the gunslinger in Leaf. Keith Brooking, a versatile kid, can play middle linebacker, can play outside linebacker, and of course Curtis is very well-rounded running back, outstanding pass receiver out of the backfield. Then there's a drop-off. After those top four, the grades slip a little bit. Then you pick it up again with Takeo Spikes, an outstanding middle linebacker. A couple players to watch. Kyle Turley, because of his versatility, can play guard or tackle. And Grant Wistrom has definitely moved up into that top 10 because of his very consistent motor.
The most intriguing story of the day will be the wide receiver for Marshall, Randy Moss, who I did not see right there. What happens with him?
Well, the off-the-field concerns certainly are there. Not on the field. Of course, at Marshall, dominated the Mid-American Conference. Those 44 touchdowns really stick out. He was a man among boys when you talk about how he dominated cornerbacks in the MAC. But those off-the-field concerns, and really as a wide receiver, he still has to develop his skills, getting off press coverage, route running.
But for Pro Bowl talent, he may be a man among boys, as you say. Well, we're about ready to tee it off. And on the first tee, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the National Football League's 1998 player draft. We'll start with the Indianapolis Colts having the first selection. The Colts are now on the board.
So while the Colts, quote, think it over, Joe, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, both have potential to be stars for a long time. Do you have a preference?
Actually, I don't necessarily have a preference because both bring a lot to the table. These are both very good athletes. They're both very big, young football players. When you take a look at the opportunities that they've had to play, you have to take a look at the experience that Peyton Manning has. He's played a lot longer. As a matter of fact, Ryan Leaf played 2 years in high school, 2 years in college. Peyton Manning played all 4 years in college, so he's played more just in college. Leadership, because Manning has played more, he has that ability, but Ryan Leaf jumped up a lot in his senior year. Maturity, again, because Manning has played so much football, he gets the edge there. Physical skills, Ryan Leaf brings just a ton of natural talent. And the conversation that you have with the personnel people and the coaches regarding these young men is the upside in Ryan Leaf is terrific. What you get from Peyton Manning right now is a wonderful, polished athlete. Both of them bring a lot of assets to this table. I think both will fit very well with the teams that they wind up with.
Well, each owner brought jerseys of both. And by the way, whoever team that they don't go to, let's just say the Colts pick Peyton Manning, wonder how much that Ryan Leaf Colts jersey would be worth at a charity auction. In 1983, John Elway was drafted first by the Baltimore Colts. Do you remember?
Baltimore selects as the first choice in the draft quarterback John Elway of Stanford.
As I stand here right now playing baseball, I said I don't want to be a jerk or anything about it. As that we've been telling you for 3 months that I'm not going to play in Baltimore, and I know for a fact you've been offered 3 ones and a quarterback, and you turned that down. And right now you have nothing.
Of course, John Elway never took a snap for the Baltimore, then Indianapolis Colts, quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and of course will be receiving his Super Bowl ring before opening day. The Broncos, John Elway, of quarterbacks who have started 6 games or more since 1983, he's the only one. What have the Colts done since then? Jeff George, Jim Harbaugh, Pierre Trudeau, Mike Onion, Pagel, Chris Chandler, Gary Hogeboom, Paul Justin, a smattering of who they've had. 20 years ago, they drafted Burt Jones in the first round, and he worked out. But Elway never became a Colt. Art Schleister was a first-round pick. They have a chance to undo a lot of negative history in the quarterback. I don't mean that Jim Harbaugh or Jeff George weren't good players, but maybe not to the degree of Peyton Manning, who brings special talent, starting with his release. Almost releases the ball too quick, doesn't he, Mel?
I'll tell you, when you look at Peyton Manning, his size, he's over 6'5". You look at that 230-pound frame, really an extension of your offensive coordinator. Statistics prove them out what I'm talking about in terms of his accuracy. I mean, he is on target with virtually every rounded off his game as a passer. And I'll tell you, the arm strength, watch him here. You know, stick it between a defender, get it in the end zone, and when you see accuracy, I think that's what I'm talking about here. On the money, he knows how on a very consistent basis. And as I said before, what I like about Peyton is he can elude the initial defender, and he has that ability to loft the ball, Joe, and that's an instinctive quality that only the great quarterbacks really possess.
You know how big this draft is. It's not very often that we see the owners of the first two teams.
That's right.
Jimmy Irsay is going to bring the card up for the Colts here in a few seconds. Alex and Dean Spanos are here, the ownership of the Chargers, to bring their card up with the second pick. And as we speak, Jim on cue. Very exciting moment for him and the entire Colts franchise. And the question now becomes, will the RCA Dome, a.k.a. the Big Horseshoe, will that become Peyton's place?
With the first pick in the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select quarterback, University of Tennessee, Peyton Manning.
Moment for Peyton, his family. You saw his brothers, mom and dad, and of course Archie Manning, who excelled with a very poor team for years and years with the New Orleans Saints. The jersey's ready, and here he is, the new quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning. And I guess we must do this. Golf fans know this cheer. In Indianapolis, you can now yell, Peyton, you the Manning!
I think it's a great choice, Chris. I mean, I believe that he's going to fit in so perfectly. And really, when I had a chance to talk to the organization over the last 2 weeks, they've sort of pointed themselves towards getting ready for the Peyton Manning arrival. His athletic ability, his quickness. And Mel, you brought up something else. Remember during the college season, everybody talked about the little pitter-patter steps that he used to take. When you watched him in workouts, they were gone. He's very conscious of what needs to be done to correct his skills to make himself play at the next level. He's coachable, he's teachable, he's very smart in his approach to the game of football. You're really getting the perfect student as well as a fine, fine young man.
I know, Joe, but just a note of caution. I think we tend to expect too much from young quarterbacks in the National Football League. They're force-fed, they're scrutinized really as rookies. I think it's unfair. I think he needs to be brought along slowly. Sure, he'll be the starting quarterback on opening day more than likely, but still, you have to go through those growing pains. It's not the SEC any longer. I think too often, Joe, quarterbacks that first, second year are talked about as busts or booms. I think it's far premature.
I don't think it is in the case of Peyton Manning. See, I get to disagree with you in the first 15 minutes of the show, which is a rarity. But I really think that in the case of Peyton Manning, you're going to see his statistics at the end of the year probably look like a 3 or a 4 year player. I think he'll be able to adjust that quickly. I really feel like this young man can adjust that quickly to the game of football. The Indianapolis Colts are going to need him. They're a football team that's not very far away. Offensively, they're in pretty good shape. Tom Moore takes over as the coordinator. Rusty Tillman takes over as the defensive coordinator for Indianapolis. Rusty will run an aggressive style of defense. They get Jeff Herrod back in the middle. They're soaring up that side of the line. Offensively, good tight ends, good running backs. I think there's a lot of people around him to be able to allow him to be successful.
And he should start right away. And I think in the Bill Polian, Jim Mora era of the Indianapolis Colts, the key player for Peyton Manning will not necessarily be who he has up front. It's going to be Marshall Faulk. If a big-time running game can go with a nice, young, maturing quarterback, this will be a treat.
Yep.
Marshall becomes key to how Peyton Manning does, who is now with our Mike Tirico. Michael.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Peyton, one of your endearing qualities is that you are such a team guy, and you gave your team the credit all the time at Tennessee. Will you at least take this moment to feel proud of your accomplishment?
Well, it's an honor, Mike. There's no question about it. I'm really excited about what's ahead and just proud that the Colts put their faith in me. I'm looking forward to the challenge of getting the program going, and it's a really exciting time right now.
everyone was playing great poker from the Colts side. Were you at all concerned that you weren't going to be their selection?
I had a pretty good idea, Mike, but I can keep a secret too. There's no question about that. But like I said, really excited. Going to Indianapolis today and looking forward to visiting Mr. Polian and Coach Moore. And I'm excited to go to work. I'm ready to get started right now.
Quickly, how long have you been keeping that secret?
Can't tell you that either, Mike.
We'll talk to you later. Okay. Peyton Manning, the Colts' #1 pick. He will wear his dad's old number 18. He couldn't have it at Tennessee. Chris.
All right, Mike, and congratulations, Peyton. He can keep a secret. So can the general manager of the Colts, Bill Polian, who's with our Mark Malone. Let's go out to Indianapolis right now, Mark.
Well, Chris, we said that, or I said at least this morning, I wouldn't want to play poker with Bill Polian. He has kept a secret so well coming up to this draft. You and I spoke at length last night. You still didn't really indicate to me where you'd go. Tell me, in your heart of hearts, did it take you until late last night to really come down to this decision, Bill?
No, not really. I think sometime around midday yesterday, Jim Moore and I sat down and we said, what's in our hearts? We've done all the research. We've done all the measurements that you can do. And in the end, it comes down to making a very tough pick. These are two very, very fine football players. And we just felt that Peyton, because of his experience and his maturity level in the game of football, not personal maturity, but in the game of football, fit best for us in this particular situation. I'm confident that Ryan Leaf is going to go on and have an outstanding career, and I wouldn't bet against him playing in the AFC Championship game in the not-too-distant future.
Speaking of his maturity and his experience level, does that mean that this kid comes in and starts right away? He's at the top of your depth chart?
Well, we're going to start him out there, and we'll see where it goes. We're going to throw him in, whether it's game 1 or game 4. I think is immaterial, but he's going to learn on the job, that's for sure.
Well, Bill Polian has certainly put his brand on this particular franchise with a #1 overall pick, Peyton Manning of the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, let's take it back to Boomer in New York.
All right, Mark, thank you. So Peyton becomes now the 9th quarterback to be drafted #1 overall since 1970. Drew Bledsoe, the Patriots, 93. Jeff George, Indy, 1990. A fellow named Troy Aikman, who won 3 Super Bowls for Dallas in 89. Vinny Testaverde, the Bucks in 87. John Elway, 83, Baltimore, but of course never took a snap there. Steve Bartkowski, a very good quarterback, 75, Atlanta. 71, Jim Plunkett by Boston, won 2 Super Bowls with Oakland. And a fellow named Terry Bradshaw, 1970 with Pittsburgh, who won 4 Super Bowls. So it's pretty good pedigree. Peyton fits right in. Why is San Diego on the clock? They moved up from the 3 overall spot to the 2 spot, which was owned by Arizona, and they paid quite a price. They shifted first-round picks. It cost them a second this year. Eric Metcalf, linebacker Patrick Sapp, and Bobby Beathard surrendered the first-round pick in 1999. But they felt they just had to make the move.
The one position we just couldn't afford to wait any longer was the quarterback position. I think it was unique to us, that right now in the position we're at, we needed to address the quarterback position if we had the opportunity to do so. And it was there, as expensive as it was there for us to have that chance. So we took advantage of it.
The amazing thing in this draft is that we were in 3rd position. And I don't know when you're going to find the 2 teams in front of you where one team doesn't need a quarterback. If we're ever going to be there and get to the position where we want to be in the league, you can't do it without one of those guys. And if we're right in our evaluation that either one of these guys can take you there, then I think it was a deal we had to make.
One thing that Bobby Beathard has never done in his history, and of course building the Super Bowl champions in Washington and a Super Bowl team in San Diego, before that years around the league, Miami, he has never drafted a quarterback in round 1 or in round 2. He's done pretty well in round 3 to 8. And back when they had drafts up to round 17, he drafted. And there's one of our favorites in the league, Sid Brooks, longtime equipment man, gentleman extraordinaire for the Chargers. And he doesn't know what to do right now. Who do we pick?
He's also
possibly could we pick?
Gee, maybe it's the guy on the camera right now. I guess it would be, maybe we'll go out on a big tree here. Ryan Leaf, I think, is obviously a natural fit. I felt like each of these guys would be a natural fit for their football teams. The thing about Ryan Leaf is he brings a swagger to the game. There's an upside to Ryan Leaf that nobody's quite sure of because he hasn't played as much football as Ryan Leaf. He's got tremendous feet for a big man. He can back out, look left, turn and throw right as well as any smaller quarterback. I've watched film, and looking at a lot of it, I can tell you, he gets rid of the ball quickly. He moves very well for a big man, throws extremely well on the run. The only question you have is how long is it going to take for him to be able to be comfortable at this level? If you're going to compare him to one football player that's come out in recent years, he definitely would have to be compared to a Drew Bledsoe because he's that type of an athlete.
Well, he moves a lot better than people would think.
Oh, yeah.
Someone at 6'5 and a half, 245, and it led the team to the Rose Bowl, and a bomber in the Air Coryell Dan Fouts mold. He's in a good stadium, isn't he, with a little bit of history? Let's go to the commissioner.
With the second choice in the draft, the San Diego Chargers select quarterback, Washington State University, Ryan Leaf.
The hugs from the Leaf Brigade, or I guess we should call it a forest. Why not? Because there's lightning bolts here adorning the theater in New York. Ryan Leaf from behind stage to front and center. And like I said, great pedigree with throwing the football at San Diego. He stays on the West Coast.
And he only had 32 members of his family here last night.
Why not? I said it's a forest.
It's great. It should be. You're right.
And you know what's best about these kids is I say they're kids, but these young men who we've gotten to know a little bit, and I don't know either of them well, but they're just fun to be around, in addition to fun to watch play football.
They are, and in sitting with them last night, having a chance to visit with them, both of them have made this simple statement. They're ready to get it started now. They're ready to get it going. They want to get on to the next level of their life, and now the moment has come.
Is the ceiling higher in your mind for Ryan Leaf, Nell, than it is for Peyton Manning? As Alex Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, he brought 2 jerseys too. He could file that Manning jersey and sell that at a charity auction. There he is, Ryan Leaf, 16. Is the ceiling higher on him, perhaps?
Well, I really believe, Chris, when you look back at this trade, San Diego moving up from 3 to 2, 5 years from now, it may not look like Bobby Beathard gave up enough. This kid has tremendous potential, great physical ability, throws the ball all over the field. And I think when you look at San Diego, they were fortunate to have this pick. They tried to trade away the 98 first-round pick in the second round last year. So Bobby Beathard fortunate to have that choice to get a Ryan Leaf. Touchdowns 33. Of course, he was the guy that led that team into the Rose Bowl. Really carried that football team on his shoulders throughout the season. You see the ability to throw across the body and still throw strikes down the field. That's why his accuracy is questioned sometimes, because look what he tries to do. Always that gunslinger, doing whatever he can to get the ball in the hands of the receiver. Remember, this kid's 245, 250 pounds. So defensive ends coming off the blind side or attacking the pocket are not going to be able to intimidate Ryan Leaf or take him down very easily, because he can shrug off defenders a la Roman Gabriel, the former Ram. And what you really liked this year was the poise. You see how he's not flustered. Mike Price, I thought, worked with him last summer, quarterback coach, head coach with the Cougars, and Mike Price deserves a lot of credit for transforming Ryan Leaf into this great quarterback that he was this season.
And now he goes, Joe, with assistants like June Jones and Joe Bugle. Who has the better situation, Leaf or Manning, or are they both very good and very nurturing for them?
I think you have to compare their situations not just to the coaching aspect, but the people around him. For example, from a coaching standpoint, I think it's fairly even. I think both of them will benefit. Bruce Arians in Indianapolis, June Jones in San Diego, excellent quarterback coaches. They're both in systems that will allow them to develop as quarterbacks. Offensive line, I think Leaf has a little bit of an advantage right now. San Diego went out and got Aaron Taylor and John Jackson to really handle a terrible problem they had. Skill positions, I think the advantage goes to Manning a little bit. And the last part would be the defense. I think also Manning gets a little bit of an edge in Indianapolis. Ryan Leaf is going to have to go in and grow up with this football team. Peyton Manning is going to come into a football team that has a lot of pieces in place. So if you're Manning coming in, I think the expectations will be higher because the football team has a little bit more around it.
I'm almost sure that Peyton will start in week 1. I think Ryan Leaf may not start for about a month. He may wait behind Wheelahan, but if you're looking at the schedule, week 5, October 4th, San Diego at Indianapolis. Will it by then be Leaf against Manning? Something to point out very early in the season. 93, we had the identical situation when Bill Parcells played the same sort of bluff. Was it Bledsoe? Was it Meyer? The Patriots took Drew Bledsoe. Rick Meyer never panned out in Seattle, and now he's in Chicago. In 71, it was 1-2-3. Jim Plunkett with Boston. Peyton's dad, Archie, with the Saints. and Dan Pastorini with Houston. Arizona is now on the clock. Will they trade now? We know it's Andre Wadsworth, but yet so does everyone else. The calls are coming in to the desert. They'll spend the full 15. There's the war room.
Dude, guess how much it cost me to make sure my family gets $1 million if something ever happens to me? You'll never guess.
I don't know. It's got to be like $200 a month.
Nope. $37 a month to protect my family. It only took me 10 minutes to get coverage. It was 100% online, and I didn't even need to take a medical exam.
That could help cover our living expenses. That could help put my kids through college if something happens to me.
Yeah, man. Ethos.com. It's super easy, and you can get coverage in just minutes.
It's an Acura 24-valve V6, like the Acura NSX. It's the power of sequential multi-port fuel injection, like the NSX. It's four-wheel independent double wishbone suspension, like the NSX. It's comfortable seating for 5, like 2.5 NSXs. It's the TL from Acura, the true definition of luxury. Yours.
What's the matter, clown boy? You need to make a call, but you don't have the change. Just use 1-800-COLLECT. Go ahead, make some calls. You'll save a bundle. That's great. Mine's 1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening.
Troy Aikman is back to pass. He's looking, look out. Oh, Aikman goes down.
He had a man wide open. What was he thinking?
Brute, it's all part of the game.
All right, guys, same play.
To excite you. It has the power to move you. It has the power to take you places you never knew existed. It is, of course, your Visa card with the power to get you a seat to Michael Tilson Thomas and the San Francisco Symphony at Davies Symphony Hall. So bring your Visa card because you can't get in using American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
One word? Dominating. Dominating. Speed.
Quick.
Bruce Smith.
Intensity.
Relentless. Devastating.
Performer.
Wow. Beyond.
Exciting.
Exciting.
Athletic.
Playmaker. Skill.
Flashy. Smooth.
Athlete.
Scary.
We've had the quarterback time. We may not have another quarterback drafted today in the first 3 rounds. May not. But now it's the time for Andre Wadsworth and Charles Woodson, 2 tremendous players who may make this draft, along with 2 quarterbacks, one that we shall never forget for those of us who love and follow pro football. Mike Golick is out in the desert. Let's check in with him right now. Mike?
Thanks, Boomer. Well, Andre Wadsworth is their man if a deal isn't put in front of him. As we're speaking, Vice President of Player Personnel Bob Ferguson has been on the phone in the war room talking to some of the teams or getting involved in some conversation. But if no deal is done, Andre Wadsworth will be the man. Let's send it back to you, Chris.
I think, guys, thanks, Michael. I think that when you heard Bill Polian, who ought to know a little bit about Bruce Smith, say, well, how would you describe Andre Wadsworth? Bruce Smith. We have not had, Mel and Joe, a lineman, a pass rusher ranked this high since Bruce Smith and Ray Childress came out in 1985. That speaks volumes. The pick is up to the commissioner, so Arizona obviously has held all calls.
With the 3rd pick in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals select defensive end from Florida State University, Andre Wadsworth.
In Arizona, the defensive line coach for Vince Tobin is one of the greatest of all time. Joe Green and the Steel Curtain. And now he has Eric Swan, Simeon Rice, and Andre Wadsworth. along with Aeneas Williams at a corner. Folks, I know this Cardinal team was 4-12, but you put those three guys on the front line with one of the best corner cover guys in football. This is a dictating defense.
Well, it really is. Look at all the close games the Cardinals lost last year. That may not happen in '98. They have also a great young quarterback in Jake Plummer. Wadsworth, 275 pounds, a la Bruce Smith. Look at the sack total and the pressures. This is a guy who played defensive tackle and nose tackle until this year. Look at the way he uses his arms and hands, strong hands. Well, he gets off a block tremendously well, and then has that great speed. Look how he closes on the quarterback there. That's what separates him. Look at the athleticism as well coming up here. This is what you're talking about. Athletic ability, speed, dominating qualities. Watch this play against Ohio State. That's what separates Andre Wadsworth from all the other great defensive ends that have come along. He's a special player, even more special than his playing ability, Chris, as a person. Great character. He's going to be a major asset to the Arizona Cardinal football team, majorly on the field, but as well as off the field and in the locker room.
Something to remember about the Arizona Cardinals here. I'm not putting them in any Super Bowl, but this is a team with a fifth-place schedule with a dictating defense. The Giants wrote a fifth-place schedule to the division championship last year in the NFC East. Arizona moving up the board. Boy, they have made some big changes since Bob Ferguson went out there and helped them organize their drafts. Charles Woodson, he should be next. We'll be back.
What should you expect from a dealership when you're shopping for a new car or truck? At Bill Utter Ford, you can expect a dealership that takes care of the little things. A dealership that makes buying easy. At Bill Utter Ford, you can expect an utterly affordable deal, like 1.9% financing on 98 Mustangs, Explorers, Escorts, Rangers, Tauruses, and ZX2s. It's been 42 years that Bill Utter Ford has been serving North Texas, and you don't stay in business that long if you're not taking care of people. Bill Utter Ford, utterly affordable and utter satisfaction.
I'm not hiding anything. If someone buys the DBS system from you, isn't it true that they still have to purchase programming?
Isn't it also true DBS customers are responsible for their own service and installation?
I have no control over that.
But with cable TV, you've already got all the top-rated channels. There's no equipment to buy, and service and installation are guaranteed.
I don't think that's relevant.
Isn't it a fact, sir, that DBS can actually cost much more than cable TV?
I don't recall.
If you're thinking about DBS, you might want to think twice. Cable TV, the best value in home entertainment.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Your neighbors are nice, huh? Chucky's finally got a kid his age to play with.
He seems to have fun playing over there.
Kind of like it, too.
If your kids play at a friend's house, please find out if the parents have a handgun.
Whoa. What does it mean to live a rich life? It means brave first leaps, tearful goodbyes, and everything in between. With over 100 years navigating market.
That's nice being alone for a change.
Are on the clock and dressed as only Raider fans can in New York. They're ready to see if another Heisman Trophy winner goes to the Raiders, Charles Woodson. We will see as the Raiders are now on the clock with about 11 minutes to go. Now, the Raiders, well, we were going to go to Miami for a moment, but let's go quickly up to New England and Sal Paolantonio. Sal, what's brewing?
Boomer, I just heard from team owner Bob Kraft, who said that all week long the Raiders have been trying to get the Patriots to move up to that fourth spot to take Charles Woodson. The Patriots love Charles Woodson. They would love to have him at cornerback. They think they'd be set for 10 to 12 years in their division. It would really give the rest of the teams a bunch of headaches in their pass defense, which wasn't so good last year. But the Patriots say that the price is way too steep. What I hear is they're asking for is both number one picks, the 18th and the 22, as well as a second or maybe 2 seconds to go up to the fourth spot. Mort?
Well, Sal, it looks like the Raiders are going to have quite a parlay, or at least they're attempting quite a parlay. Obviously, they will take Charles Woodson with the number 4 pick if there's no trade, but they are also trying to get into the top 10 at the number 7 spot with the New Orleans Saints, trying to get Randy Moss, the Marshall wide receiver. The holdup here is that the Saints, with this deal, along with a couple of second-round picks, the Saints are demanding next year's first-round pick from the Raiders, and right now the Raiders aren't giving. Chris?
All right, guys, thank you. Always interesting when the Raiders are on the clock with it. We understand the pick is coming right in. They got to go with Woodson. I mean, now all of a sudden corner, which was such a strength position for them for years and years and years, back from the days of Willie Brown et al. All of a sudden, the guys that they've had, they've been fine players, but are very long in the tooth. Let's go up to the podium and Commissioner Paul Tagliabue.
With the fourth pick in the draft, the Oakland Raiders have selected defensive back, University of Michigan, Charles Woodson.
Chris, it's the only pick that I think the Raiders could have made. Even though the trade for Eric Allen has gone through, Eric Allen has now decided that he will report to the Raiders at the cornerback position. You still have Albert Lewis, Larry Brown, and Terry McDaniel. Larry Brown probably will be gone in a short period of time. Albert Lewis and Terry McDaniel have been there, I think, since the turn of the century. So, I mean, that's a position that was certainly a need position. Even though John Gruden, an offensive guru, comes in as head coach, you still stop people from scoring. That's the best way to win. I think it's a great addition.
Well, ranked 30th overall in defense, 30 in pass defense. I mean, I think we know what's happened. And again, they have collected yet another Heisman Trophy winner. Desmond Howard now plays for him. Bo Jackson did. Marcus Allen, of course, excelled for him. Led him to a Super Bowl win over, I forgot, Joe, who that was. Jim Plunkett led them. I forgot, Joe. Jim Brown, a Heisman Trophy winner. And, of course, way back when, Billy Cannon, a Heisman Trophy winner who played for the Raiders in the glory days in the 60s. And by the way, what's interesting in the stands, Jet fans and Raider fans are nearby, and they're taunting each other. We haven't seen this since the 60s, since Ben Davidson and Ike Lassiter were rushing Joe Namath. It's great up here. Look, Raider fans, Jet fans yelling at him. At any rate, Charles Woodson, offense and defense, he's always there for plays in the biggest games.
No question, Chris. I think Deion Sanders may have better recovery speed, but Charles Woodson is that kind of impact player. Great players make great plays. This is early in the year and really a game that everybody thought was kind of even. He set the tone for Michigan's season with this interception against Colorado. Sent Michigan on to an undefeated season, Colorado to a disappointing 5-6 record. Here against Michigan State, human highlight film type INT. Here's another touchdown reception against Penn State. Shows his versatility there. Watch against David Boston here. Physical style. He won't back down. He'll get up there in the face of the wide receiver in press coverage, never back off. And here's the difference maker when you talk about great plays. Ohio State key game, punt return, 78 yards for a touchdown. This is what I'm talking about, Chris. Consistently, even with the pressure on, we were talking Heisman Trophy, here against Ohio State, interception against B. Miller in the end zone. Every spotlight game, Rose Bowl against Ryan Lee, in the end zone, preventing a touchdown, goes up and makes the interception against Kevin McKenzie. You just can't minimize that type of ability with the spotlight on Charles Woodson. Really, Chris, from late September on, he was talked up as a Heisman candidate. He came through big time in the clutch.
Well, he's primarily a defensive player who is always around the ball. We got one of those ourselves. 14-year linebacker with the Denver Broncos, Tom Jackson, who's with us here in New York. And Tommy, we're going to talk a little bit about Andre Wadsworth, a player who all defensive players drool over when you think about watching him. Welcome to New York, and how come you don't have to wear a tie? What, do you got connections?
Well, Andre Wadsworth was certainly, I think, the best player in this draft. Be of certainly needed as being an aspect. The next best player in this draft, I think, was Charles Woodson. What you get in Wadsworth is you get a ball player who is polished coming out of college, possibly and potentially better than Peter Boulware. Great technique artist, fast off the corner, has great leverage with his body. Charles Woodson is a playmaker in the mold of a Raider. He is going to be a get-up-in-your-face guy, play 6 inches off the line of scrimmage, and he certainly might affect the picks of other guys down the line as we look through the AFC West, because when you consider the fact that Sean Springs, Dale Carter, and now Charles Woodson are all in the AFC West, you're going to have receivers to counter that. So certainly I think we've looked at, as in the last two picks, Wadsworth and Woodson, the best two players in this draft.
I'll be loving to watch them in the next 10, 12 years. Well, they're all excited in Arizona, Tommy. Let's head out to the desert and rejoin Mike Golick. Mike?
Thanks, Boomer. Well, the Cardinals got their man in Andre Wadsworth. And Vince, first, all trade aside, is Andre Wadsworth the man you would have taken regardless, or was there another player possibly?
There really wasn't. We had decided quite some time ago that Andre Wadsworth was our man, and we were just waiting to see if there's a blockbuster thing that we couldn't afford to pass up. But the closer it got to the thing, no matter what they'd offered, we were going to take Andre, because you draft the complete package, and we feel like Andre's a complete package.
Now, I know the phone was ringing yesterday, and this morning I saw Bob Ferguson on one time. Anything that really came about that made you hesitate at all?
Well, we've had some offers and some very legitimate offers, but as I said, it kind of, called our hand type of thing, because we decided that Wadsworth is the guy we wanted, and no matter really what was offered, boy, we were going to stick with him, because we feel like that he's the guy that can help us get where we want to get.
Now the starting left end for the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, I never give anybody anything. You have to earn it on the football field, but I would be awful surprised that if he's not starting somewhere and by the time we start ready to play.
The Cardinals get their man, Andre Wadsworth. Many felt the top player in the entire draft, including the two quarterbacks. Chris, back to you.
All right, Mike and Vince Oman, I'm telling you, folks, watch out for Arizona this year. They're on the move. And now the draft has been going at Mach 12 right down the highway. We are at the point where it starts to make a left-hand turn. Chicago is on the clock. This is the Curtis Enis spot, but he is coveted by St. Louis, by Jacksonville, by maybe New England, by lots of teams. Do the Bears make a trade, or do they keep the pick? Curtis Enis, Dick Vermeil, and Mike Ditka coming up as their teams make their selections, and the saga of Randy Moss really gets started. We'll be back.
Who's looking after your money? You do have goals to reach. Are mutual funds getting you there? How do they see things? At Janus, they look for opportunities one at a time. Not categories, not trends. Just great companies to invest in, no matter what the market's doing. You can find them if you look hard enough. And Janus does. Get there. Janus No-Load Mutual Funds.
Renting a car is part of your vacation, right?
Don't worry.
So Alamo thinks it should be part of your fun.
Drive happy.
That's why every time you rent from Alamo, you get our guarantee of unlimited mileage. And with Alamo's great Drive Happy deals, you got lots of money left for the fun stuff.
Don't worry. Drive happy. Drive happy now.
Hey, Dale. Hey, thanks. Sure, no problem, Bob. Hey, it may not be much, but I think the right end is lifting just a little bit in the turns.
I'll have it checked out. Thank you.
Okay. Say hi to Kelly.
Sure will.
Be good.
This ESPN News presentation of the 1998 NFL Draft is brought to you by Janus No-Load Mutual Funds, by Alamo. Renting a car should be fun, so Alamo puts you smiles ahead with Drive Happy deals and services, and by Miller Lite, who reminds you that whenever you feel good, it's Miller time.
And now it's time for one of the most legendary franchises to pick. I have to do it. The Chicago Bears. There's about 7 minutes left for them on the clock, and their phones are buzzing. Let's head down to news on the Bears. Let's go to Miami with Chris Mortensen. Mort, what's brewing?
Well, Boomer, you're right. Their phones are ringing off the hook. They are talking with Jacksonville, St. Louis, and New England, and here's the deal. They want 2 ones. They want both of Jacksonville's ones, which Jacksonville hasn't been willing to give up. They wanted both of New England's ones. If they don't get the deal they want, Mark Hatley, the personnel man, now making the picks for the Bears, will take Curtis Enis, the Penn State running back. He really likes Curtis Enis. If he trades down, then they're looking at a linebacker like Takeo Spikes of Auburn or Keith Brooking of Georgia Tech. Chris?
All right, Mortimer, well, the Bears will probably use up all the time because that's one of the few positions. Remember, they just paid money for Edgar Allan Poe Bennett from the Packers. They have a salon, they have some players there in a team that badly needs some help. Running backs, we expect maybe 4 to go in the first round. Is there a big difference on your board between the top backs?
I really don't think so, Chris. I think the depth at running back is outstanding. Teams know late first, early second round, you can get some good football players. Fred Taylor has moved up into the middle of the first. Robert Edwards is interesting. There's a durability question, but he's got great ability. Robert Holcomb, very consistent, move the chain style of running back. Skip Hicks improved a great deal as a senior this year, really moved into the early to mid second round area. So there is a lot of quality depth at the running back position, well into, Chris, the second, third, fourth round.
The Bears, you know, they're in a division, Joe, where everybody else made the playoffs. So as the Bears sit there in 4-12 and need help and really counseling, I hate to say it, in a lot of positions, can they afford to just pick the running back here if they don't make a trade?
No, I think a running back picked at this spot would be wrong for the Chicago Bears. They made the deal for Edgar Bennett. He could have played in the Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers last year. He was healthy enough to be able to do that. You get a relatively young back who's had a lot of great playoff experience, and now you're going to go bring in a younger one. I think they have much more needs. Obviously, the defensive line is a situation they need to address with the problems with Alonzo Spellman. They have nobody to complement the wide receiver position. You've settled down at the position with Eric Kramer. Eric Kramer will be fine at quarterback if you give him some people around him. I think they need people to put points on the board. You made the point, Chris. Everybody in that division gets to the playoffs.
Yes.
You get there by scoring points. Chicago has not done it. They need skilled people in that position. That's where I'd have to say they go. Defensive line and or in the wide receiver area.
You know, they haven't had a Pro Bowler since '93, so they need big-time playmakers somewhere. There's about 4.5 minutes left on the clock with the Bears. Let's check in with our Chris Myers in Dallas. Chris, what have you heard?
Well, moments ago, Chris, I spoke with John Shaw of the Rams, and at that point, the Rams are calling the bluff of the Bears. Of course, the Rams want Curtis Enos, someone Dick Vermeil has talked with personally, and it's a need for the Rams, but they're not willing to trade with Chicago. And if Chicago goes ahead and picks Curtis Enos, then the Rams will go with Grant Wistrom, the defensive lineman, also one of the areas of need for the St. Louis Rams. So at this point, the Rams aren't willing to move. They're going to wait and see what Chicago does. They have Enos and Wistrom rated about the same, with Enos being the priority simply because that's more of a need position. Chris, back to you.
See, thank you, Chris. One of the things, I mean, St. Louis just wants to come up one spot, but the price that San Diego paid for Arizona makes the Bears think, well, they can get a similar sort of windfall of picks or maybe players, but in this case, it's running back, not quarterback. That may not be the case. We'll be back with the Bears.
We all know how a dog reacts when he sees something he really likes. Unexpectedly, I've noticed the same behavior on this young man.
I can't control my arm. I can't control my arm.
Can you turn this into something good? They sprayed us good, huh?
Yeah, good.
But we'll be okay, huh? I mean, we've been sprayed before, huh, Hank? I can't feel my roots, Hank. I can't feel my roots. Hank! Hank!
Roundup, no mercy, no pity, no weeds. We asked some of Hollywood's hottest stuntmen to try Degree. What's body heat activated? As your body heat rises, Degree releases extra protection when you need it most.
I heated up, and it cooled me down. I was on fire, and I was dry.
Body heat activated Degree. Your body heat turns it on.
Viva Gorditas!
Coming this summer, it's a lot more of the NFL and ESPN. Starting July 28th, the NFL Tonight with host Mark Malone. We'll have news from around the league every night, Tuesday through Saturday on ESPN2. Then, starting September 6th, NFL Countdown. Now starting at 11 a.m. A full 2 hours of news, inside stories, and live reports from around the league. Then, review the day on NFL Prime Time, starting at 7:30 this year, with in-depth highlights of all the day's games. And then right after prime time, it's Sunday Night Football. From Labor Day to after Christmas, 17 weeks of the best teams, the best players, the best rivalries in the NFL. A full NFL season, all on ESPN. Now we're ready ready for some football, certainly all fall long in the next 2 days. When you're saying the card has gone up, there's about a minute left on the clock for the Bears. Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 5th pick in the draft, Chicago Bears select running back, Penn State University, Curtis Enis.
I tell you what, I would not, and this is on no inside information for this particular, I would not necessarily rule out a trade in which Enis doesn't end the weekend a Bear, although lately those things haven't happened.
No, I agree with you, Chris. It's not that the Bears can't use a player like Curtis.
He's a great player.
He's certainly a terrific football player, a terrific young man, and the Bears want to add that type of a quality player to their roster. But I think that there are other areas of needs on the Chicago Bear football team that could have been addressed in this draft, and I think will be. I tend to agree with you, Chris. I really feel like Curtis Enis may not wind up past Sunday being a Chicago Bear. At least they have him in fold now. I think it's not necessarily the move you want to see. They didn't get the deal they want, but this gives them time now to be able to work on a future deal that may even get them more players, more picks, and of course more opportunity to help their football team.
Although worse things could happen, Mel, than just lining up Curtis Enis and letting him be a big bruising back in a cold weather ballpark.
Well, you're right, Chris. I think when you look at Kajana Carter and Blair Thomas, everybody says, are you afraid of Penn State backs? Well, Lydell Mitchell, Franco Harris, Kurt Warner had great careers coming out of Happy Valley. I look at that size, 240 pounds. You also see some outside speed. Not a lot of creativity or elusive qualities, but we're talking about a 240-plus pounder who has the speed to take it the distance. Look at the inside power. Great tackles between the tackles. You're talking about a guy that certainly can keep the chains moving very effectively. He is a tackle breaker. There's no question about that. And he plays 4 quarters. In the 4th quarter, he'll wear down defenses. Watch him here. Number 39, coming down the field, making the catch. A lot of receptions during his career at Penn State. So he's multi-dimensional. He's 240 pounds. And what I like about him is he's going to create yards, not through creativity or elusiveness, but through sheer power and determination. He'll take 1 tackle, 2, 3. It's going to take a gang tackling situation to bring this kid down. Like I said before, when you get into the latter stages of the 4th quarter, and it's a close game, and you can ride a Curtis Enis for a drive to get into field goal range, what have you. This is the kind of kid that can become very valuable, taking pressure off of Eric Kramer.
Well, 6 yards a carry last year, 19 touchdowns. And, you know, one thing you should remember about Curtis Enis, he was originally drafted, recruited by Joe Paterno as a linebacker. So there may be some question about Penn State running backs. No question about Penn State linebackers, but there is a question about Bear running backs in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it.
After Walter.
They have not hit many out. They have not hit many out of the park. Look at the running backs that they've had under Dave Wanstead in Chicago. Anderson, Worley, Haywood, Tillman, Hodge, Green.
Hodge.
I mean, Ronnie Harmon, Hicks, Salam, Harris, Carter, Lewis, and the list goes on and on and on. You'd think that the one area that the Bears probably would have stayed away from might have been the running back. But again, the pick is okay as long as he doesn't stay there.
Well, Joe, what I think the point you have to make here as well is teams tipping their hands too early. Everybody knew St. Louis had really wanted Curtis Enis. When you tip your hand early, you got the bullseye. You're the target for everybody to move ahead of. And you let everybody know a month ahead of time what you really want. And I think that's a mistake a lot of teams make, and St. Louis certainly went into this draft wanting Curtis Enis.
But let me just, one other point. We all sit here and say there are other, maybe this was a terrific move by Hadley. Maybe this was a move to say, okay, now I'm holding the aces. Well, now what are you going to do?
That's what I said.
You're exactly right. Now come to me with it. See, I think
there's no clock on this trade.
That's right.
You see, there's a difference. So St. Louis, the Rams, Dick Vermeil in year 2 of their regime is now on the clock. Grant Wistrom, you heard Chris Meyer said that's what is out there. But there are teams now that are running back hunting, one of which is New England. Let's go up to Sal Paolantonio.
Just like Mel said, Boomer, not only St. Louis, but New England was definitely interested in Curtis Enis. Of course, losing Curtis Martin to free agency to the Jets, they have a hole, they have a need to fill there. But when they were on the phone with the Bears while the Bears were on the clock, the Bears were asking for both first-round picks this year, 18 and 22 from New England, as well as a first-round pick for next year. And team owner Bob Kraft said that's just too much to mortgage for one guy. So it's back to the drawing board for the Patriots as they go hunting for another running back. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen in Miami.
Well, Sal, some people surprised by Curtis Enos going to the Bears right now, but Mark Catley, the personnel boss, and Dave Wanstead, the Bears coach, have talked out the scenario. And the next step then is to remove the transition tag from Raymond Harris, who's coming off the leg injury. That frees up another $2.5 million that they may use to target free agents after June 1st. So there is a plan in effect to take that tag off Raymond Harris. Chris?
All right, Mortimer, thank you. So St. Louis stays put, though, with number 6, and Chicago, of course, taking Enos. And they go with, well, they know the Big 12 players out in Missouri pretty darn well. And with a guy with a motor that can rush the passer inside, Grant Wistrom, that's expected to be the pick.
Draft, the Rams select defensive end, Nebraska, Grant Wistrom.
Well, this certainly adds up. And Mel, he's a heck of a player. Ray Childress, kind of his style a little bit.
Very consistent, Chris. I think you see 273 there. He could have been 255 and been an outside linebacker in the right scheme, but certainly for the Rams, he will be a defensive end with Kevin Carter on the other side. You talked about the consistent motor. Really, this kid comes hard every play. And when he gets in the backfield, he's trying to not only get a sack, but strip the football. And I think when you look at the intensity, takes you down, he takes you down hard. He's also strong. This is against the University of Washington, against Brock Pure. So you're looking at a guy very disruptive throughout his career. Of course, Jason Peter on the inside, Wistrom on the outside. He also has a lot of power in his pass rush for somebody who's only between, say, 255 and 270 during the later stages of his college career with the Cornhuskers.
So Grant Wistrom, drafted by Dick Vermeil, and someone I think he thinks he can just plug right in and probably move him on the depth chart to start. Let's go up to our defensive wizard, Tom Jackson. And Tommy, talk about a player with a motor running. We found one right here in Wistrom.
Yeah, I think the thing that you have to know about Grant Wistrom is 275 pounds, 6'3", from Nebraska, the two-time Big 12 Player of the Year. He has great balance, and let's take a look at the things that he does well. When you talk about Grant Wistrom, he's a guy whose motor is on high all the time. He is a complete package. He has great balance. You see him right there attacking the football, and that's the thing about Grant Wistrom. He creates a lot of fumbles. Watch his balance here as he comes off the corner. Right there, you're going to see a guy try to get into his legs. He cannot. He stays up and upright. And watch the anticipation of the cut block here. Watch his hands. We'll run it back for you again. Watch his hands. And the thing that you want to demonstrate here about Grant Wistrom is that Grant Wistrom has great balance. I think the only question may be his weight at 275 pounds, standing up against some of the great offensive tackles in this game. So we take a look here. Jack is going to be down the offensive tackle. As I come around the corner and he tries to cut me, it's all about getting the hands on somebody, getting them down, and getting up and over. But Grant Wistrom is an outstanding pick, and again, I think there's a premium in this league and in this draft on defensive ends who can get around the corner and rush the passer.
Tommy still has some of those moves. It's good to know. He was working pretty quickly. Every 3 years, the Rams, L.A. or St. Louis, go defensive line first pick. Bill Hawkins, 89. Sean Gilbert, 92. Kevin Carter, 95. Grant Wistrom, 98. Carter, Wistrom, now a tandem up there, Joe.
Well, I think you got Carter and Wistrom a tandem. You also have Farr, Agnew, and Robinson on the front line. The thing that I like about the addition here is you lose a Leslie O'Neal, an outside hard-moving pass rusher. All of a sudden, you've replaced him with a much younger one. The sack reduction is really the problem. That's why they went for the outside rusher. 6.5 out of Carter, 3.0 out of Farr, 2.0 out of Agnew, nothing out of Robinson. And in the top reserve is Jay Williams, who wound up with 2 sacks. So you just don't have a lot of sacks coming out of that defensive line. This is an opportunity to add speed, add youth, add power to a defensive line that is fairly young when you take a look at them. So I think it's a good move and a natural fit for the St. Louis Rams.
Well, there was no way they were going to dabble with Randy Moss after the Lawrence Phillips debacle. But here are some teams who could, either here or elsewhere. New Orleans with Mike Ditka, Dallas with Jerry Jones and company, the Randy Moss saga, Jerry and the boys, Mike Ditka and the Saints are on the clock, and we return. Welcome back to the theater in New York. I just want to get on record right here as saying that when we look back 10 years from now, the best draft in the 90s at the top will probably be this one. This is the most prolific top we think we're projecting since '89, when 4 of the 5 picks were pretty much as good as you can get. Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, Deion Sanders. Not everyone makes it to the Pro Bowl, as Tony Mandarich was graded so high and did not. But 4 of those 5 are great. We have the 2 quarterbacks. We have Wadsworth. We got Woodson. We got Enos. Just file that one away. Now, here's a curveball. Chris Mortensen in Miami. Morton, what do you have?
Well, the Saints are on the board, and I've talked to Mike Ditka, and Kyle Turley, the San Diego State offensive lineman, he told me that Turley reminds him of Jimbo Covert, his great Bears left tackle. That tells you that's the guy they're going to pick unless they trade. Jacksonville clearly talking trade swapping, which means Turley would be available still at 9, I think, and also obviously New England. The target there, well, why don't we go up to Andrea Kramer in Jacksonville to find out.
That's right, Mort. You got to get your geography right. The Jaguars are talking to the Saints. The player that they do want is running back Fred Taylor. They missed out on Curtis Enos. They were speaking to the Bears. The Bears wanted 2 first-round picks and a starting player. Tom Coughlin did not want to part with that. They would like to get Fred Taylor at the 7th position. If he is gone, or if they aren't able to get him, if they do stay at the 9th position, look for them to take linebacker Takeo Spikes or defensive tackle Vonnie Holliday. Chris, back to you, New York.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much. And Mort, that's been on the board that New Orleans, if they kept it, would probably go Turley. But now we really begin to watch where Randy Moss may or may not go. Of course, his on-the-field production at Marshall in 2 years, tremendous. Look at the touchdowns, 44 TDs, most of them in the last 2 years, 25 touchdowns in last season. However, to boil it down, high school days at West Virginia, 2 counts of misdemeanor battery. That pretty much nixed him. He was on his way to Notre Dame. Then Bobby Bowden took a shot of him at Florida State, but while he tested positive for marijuana while serving some time, that nixed his potential career at Florida State. While at Marshall, charges that were later dropped, but continued to have some trouble. Do you take a risk and just go with him because he's a great football player, or is there a red flag? Here's the views around the league.
Randy Moss is on our draft board right now, rated as a first-round pick. When we actually stack our board, then he won't be on the board.
I don't think you can judge people on other people. I think that if the New Orleans Saints and Bill Carrick or Mike Ditka judges Randy Moss or anybody else in Randy's on Lawrence Phillips, you're doing a disservice to Randy Moss. You have to judge every player an individual situation. You can't lump them together.
I just think if you're going to invest the first-round pick in a player, there better not be any question marks in regard to his past performances off the field.
You have to err on the side of caution because it can be very destructive to your salary cap. It can be very destructive to getting the right type of guys in and being able to pay them. So sometimes you may miss on a guy who is going to come in and do very, very well, but you have to play the percentages.
Well, I don't write bad character. I write past history of whatever it was. Do I think that can be changed? And then I put down yes or no. Do I think it can be changed? Yes. Do I think he's changed already? I think he's in the progress of trying to change. Whether he's changed or not, I don't know.
I find one of the most telling sound bites, and there was Tony Dungy. Remember how Warren Sapp fell a few years ago and fell into Tampa's hands? They got themselves the best defensive player of that draft. There's how things can change, and you play the percentages. Let's go to Andrea Kramer, who might be playing the percentages, Andrea.
Well, Chris, I had a chance to read some team scouting reports and psychological assessments of Moss, and due to character problems, which are obviously well documented, there's great concern by this one team scouting report as to how Moss would potentially handle a high-priced multi-million-dollar contract. Now, the scouting report also detailed how the lack of discipline was affecting his work habits. One scout questioned his ability to lead or if he would accept criticism, and one scout went so far as to say that to the best of their knowledge, Moss had not even been really yelled at by anybody at Marshall, so how would he respond to that type of discipline once he got into the pros? The psychological tests that I saw, the summarization was, until he develops more self-discipline, he will be his own worst enemy. And this was from a psychological test that is administered to many players throughout the draft. Now, as for his on-the-field performance, scouting reports say he can basically do whatever he wants on the field. However, the flip side of that is one team's report which says they wonder how he'll be able to get separation from his defenders and how he'll handle bump and run coverage in the NFL. So certainly a wide variety of opinion, Chris, on Randy Moss.
No question, Andrea. There is a wide variety of opinion, and someone who is dialed in right now is our Linda Cohn. In West Virginia, spent yesterday with many of the officials at the Thundering Herd of Marshall, for whom Randy Moss starred and led them to the CarQuest Bowl last year, and of course the playoffs the year before in Division I AA, and is now in Charleston, West Virginia right now, and is at the location where Randy Moss is. And what's the feeling there, Linda? Are they excited? Are they nervous? Do you have a feel on the situation?
Well, Chris, can you be relaxed and anxious at the very same time? That's what Randy Moss is doing right now. And yes, I am at the home of his advisors. And a lot going on, and they are looking forward to what could happen. Randy is just anxious to prove his point out on the field. You know, when I spoke to Randy in length yesterday as well as a little bit this morning, I spoke to him about, and I asked him what would happen when if the Saints do select him. What would happen if Mike Ditka would yell at him for the very first time? And Randy turned to me and he said simply, you know what? You know how you prevent the yelling? Doing your job and performing and doing well. And that way he wouldn't have to worry about dealing with a Mike Ditka and the yelling and potential adversity on the field. He's not even thinking about that. During my visit to Marshall University yesterday, I spoke to the coaches, I spoke to the teammates, and this Randy Moss that's being talked about by some NFL teams is simply not the Randy Moss that they know.
Well, he hasn't been a bad guy around us. You know, he's been here 2 years and he's done everything we've asked him to do. He's adhered to our very strict rules we have for our football team. He's made every practice. He's not had a crossword with a coach.
It's amazing to see how much people base on perception, and they make their points of view and their opinions before they even meet a person, before they even get to know the person. And when you do that, you can totally get somebody wrong and be mistaken. And I think a lot of people are mistaken about Randy.
All I can say is I just think his actions just speak for themselves. The team, it's a lot. Like a couple of years ago, Michael Jordan didn't get picked first, but now everybody regrets it. And I think that's going to be the same thing that happens with Randy.
We know Randy can outrun anybody, but can he outrun his past?
No, he can't, and his past is in the past, and I think his future is spotless. Randy has matured a lot.
I think they're piling on. I mean, they're just rehashing old things.
When Randy faces adversity in the NFL for the very first time, how do you think he's going to react?
I think adversity, it might slow him down a lot, but it'll never stop him, just because he never lets it stop him. He may get down a little bit, and he came through all the adversity through negative things in the media, but he's still pumping, he's still going as hard as he can.
I think he's totally made a 100% change. He's totally turned things around, and he's done great things for us here at Marshall. And whoever picks him in the NFL draft will be very lucky to have him on his team.
Whoever gets him, I guarantee you, will be doing somersaults.
One more note, another psychological evaluation that was given to and made available to the Bears, Dolphins, and Saints by a New Orleans psychiatrist said, in summary, this young man, under the right system, should adjust quickly and respond positively in a most consistent manner. So it's not all negative, at least from the psychological standpoint, for Randy Moss. Chris?
Hi, Linda. Thank you. We'll check in with you often. Of course, we were watching the clips there, and you know, in that Motor City Bowl, I called it CarQuest, but I got the autos mixed up. You know, 6 for 173, 6'5" to run like that now on field, no question.
Well, I think he still needs to work at wide receiver, great physical and athletic ability, Chris. But I think teams have to have a philosophy about off-the-field concerns. Either you look at that strongly, or as Bill Herrick of the Saints said, you analyze each player individually. I really think, looking back a couple years, had Lawrence Phillips gained 1,500 yards, Randy Moss would have been a top 5 pick.
Well, the clock has run down on the New Orleans Saints. Let's get their selection.
With the 7th pick in the draft, the New Orleans Saints select tackle, San Diego State University, Kyle Turley.
To to say it. We're going birdie, par, birdie, par. I mean, it's kind of gone right down the list so far. Here's a young man coached by one of the best, Ed White.
No question. I think Ed White did a tremendous job with Kyle Turley. You see the strength there, dominator at times, very good run blocker. Remember, he came out of San Diego State program, Ted Toner, with that wide-open pro-style attack. So he's a lineman who can also run block as well as pass block. So he's going to come into the league ready to play. And I think when you look at Kyle Turley, very active, gets down the field, sustains, always looking for somebody to take out of the play and advance that runner down the field. And I think when you look at Kyle Turley, there you go, Chris. That's Kyle Turley.
Yeah, wow. Well, then he go to San Diego State. Did he hurt that surfboard?
I thought you'd like that one, Chris.
Hanging 10? and now he's going to press iron, Joe.
He's going to hang a lot of 10s. I'll tell you that. He's going to join a lot of offensive linemen where he gets a chance to hang a lot of 10s. Chris Nioli, remember, was the first pick last year. He fits right in. William Rolfe, one of the finest tackles in football. Andy McCullum. Jerry Fontenot, the center, comes over from Chicago. Clarence Jones at the right tackle. You project exactly where you want to put this young man in, and he's going to find a place in a very young offensive line. I don't care how good a skilled people you have. If you've got a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, unless you have an offensive line that can block, and that's what it looks like Mike Ditka is trying to do. He's really trying to build this football team around a good offensive line, then add his skill players. He's going about it the right way. I like this decision. It's the perfect fit for New Orleans at this particular spot, at this time in Mike Ditka's coaching career.
You know, they had a pretty good defense, but they need to move the football a little bit. And now, well, maybe now we hit it into the woods. Dallas is at the 8-hole, Jacksonville at the 9-hole. Does New England move up to make a trade to get 8 and the running back of their choice? Or do the Cowboys wheel and deal, or do they just take that pick? How about them Cowboys? How about them Jaguars? We'll be back as the draft saga unfolds.
Okay, I'll be back on Tuesday. The number's on the fridge. I color-coded all your meals so you won't be confused. The blue one is a beef dish. B is for beef. The pink one's a pork dish. P is for pork. You get the idea. The green one is for vegetables. It should be violet for vegetables. But I thought you might see violet but seeing purple and interpret pork, which would defeat the whole purpose of convenient color coding altogether. 4 minutes on high. Stir halfway. Bye, guys.
So what do you guys want for dinner, blue or pink?
Did somebody say McDonald's?
I hope Mom color-coded breakfast, too.
She gave you life. She gave you her laugh. She gave you confidence. She gave and gave and gave. Well, isn't it time you gave your mom a call? MCI 5-cent Sundays. 5 cents a minute of every Sunday, along with low rates all week long. Call 1-800-SUNDAYS to become an MCI customer.
It has arrived. The day when you stop listening to the tales of other lives lived and begin the odyssey that will be your story. When you find the destiny to which you were born, all you need to bring with you is your honor, your courage, and your commitment. It's your journey. Make it a good one. Call 1-800-USA-NAVY. Let the journey begin.
As we continue from New York tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time, NHL. Last weekend before the Stanley Cup playoffs, the St. Louis Blues, hey, they're very dangerous out west against another playoff-bound team, the Phoenix Coyotes. 7:30 tonight. That game is out in the desert. All right, so we've had 7 picks. Dallas and Jacksonville are up next at 8 and 9. Let's go up to our gang at our studios at home base in Bristol with Chris Fowler and company, and pretty much right down the middle of the fairway so far as the players that have gone, guys.
Chris, thank you. I wouldn't know about that down the fairway stuff, but you're right. 73 minutes into this draft, still waiting for our first surprise. Probably most of the mock drafts you read in the newspapers this week had these 7 players going in this exact order. Only the 3rd time in history quarterbacks go 1-2 in this draft. No surprise, the Colts kind of played some games late, but Peyton Manning selected with the #1 overall choice, and his experience given is one of the main factors. Manning, 41 starts in college, as expected, will wear the Colts jersey, and a strong indication that he would start at the top of the depth chart when camp opens. Ryan Leaf going number 2, something he is ecstatic about. He's already looked at real estate in the San Diego area. It's an area that he has visited every summer since junior high school. Beyond that, the picks unfolding as expected. But now the X factor of round 1 becomes Randy Moss. Mike Ditka and the Saints passing on him at number 7. Mike Gottfried, Randy Moss will continue to be one of the stories until he is selected. Let's first talk about the on-the-field attributes of Moss.
Oh, Chris, there's no doubt he's a great athlete, a game-breaker type player that's done a lot of things for this Marshall football program. He has excellent speed. Of course, we know that he has excellent size. He has a change of direction for a big receiver. In 2 years, he had 168 pass receptions, 53 touchdowns for Marshall University. Shows his athletic ability here. Catching this pass from Pennington, he shows speed. He shows cutting ability. He shows a hurdle here at the end. Strength of a stiff arm. He gets in the end zone. He really is an outstanding talent. Now, he has a high upside. I mean, high. He has a downside as big as the Grand Canyon.
And the downside refers to some of the off-the-field stuff. But getting back to Randy Moss as a wide receiver, at times it looked very easy, and it was very easy for Moss in the Mid-American Conference. A lot of defensive backs didn't come up, didn't challenge him. They were afraid they were going to get beat deep. What about Moss as a receiver and things that might be a red flag, excluding the off-the-field stuff?
Well, you look at all the good things, Chris, but when I had him in the Motor City Bowl, he runs undisciplined routes. And the thing that bothered me the most about Randy Moss was that as I'd watch him play, he'd take a couple plays off. He'd play hard 3 plays and then take a couple plays off. He looks like he lacks concentration, and that could be a problem for a coach down the way. But he is a talent, but the downside is there.
I really think that the concern for NFL teams is not the off-the-field stuff. It really is the question in their mind, will Randy listen? Will he listen to his position coach? Will he listen to his head coach? Because at times you wonder whether Randy Moss knows whether or not to take good advice. He's had plenty of time since the end of the season to kind of rehabilitate this image and try to convince NFL teams that he is coachable, that he will live by the code in the NFL. And at times Randy has not listened to his agents or his coaches or his mother or his minister or anybody else. And I think that's a major concern, Chris. Will Randy listen to us?
Well, that's a concern for the team on the board right now. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys, who I tell you what, this would be one of the great stories of this draft if Randy Moss ended up with the Dallas Cowboys. Just, oh man, there's a lot of storylines off of that one, aren't there? Well, news of the Cowboys' interest in Randy Moss. Let's go back to West Virginia and join Linda Cohn. Cowboys, one of the serious suitors?
No question about that, Chris. There's serious interest. One of the Cowboy scouts have been staying here in Charleston at a local hotel, calling here, the home of where Moss is staying, of the advisors, keeping tabs on what is going on with Randy Moss. Also, of the trips Randy made, the Cowboys, he was the most impressed by that. He enjoyed meeting Deion Sanders. Sanders spending a lot of time with him, of course, and also he enjoyed his chat with Jerry Jones. He spent about an hour with Jerry, and Jerry and Randy were getting along, and Randy was saying it compared it to a couple of friends just catching up on old times. But Chris Myers, what is the latest in Dallas?
Oh, Linda, I just got off the phone with the Cowboys war room, and they're going to go cold feet like a number of teams are with the Randy Moss, and I doubt seriously how much they really consider drafting Randy Moss at this, the 8th pick. The Cowboys have gone out of their way to repair an image. Calvin Hill brought in over a year ago as the behavioral consultant, and that's Calvin in the war room earlier today talking with the brain trust of the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones using psychological and staff testing, psychiatric testing for the first time with his draft picks. One concern the Cowboys had in this study was any player who mixed substance abuse with violent behavior was something they wanted to stay away from, and that's an issue that the Cowboys have had to deal with. So at this point, the Cowboys are removing Randy Moss from the equation at this selection. Dallas is entertaining trade discussion. The interest, as you look live in the war room, is a defensive line. Greg Ellis out of North Carolina is the player that the Cowboys would select if they stay at this position. That's an area of need and something that they have a concern with at this point. Randy Moss is not in the picture for the Cowboys. Now let's go to Andrea Kramer.
Well, Chris, one team for whom Randy Moss might be in the picture, they are considering Moss, although they don't necessarily think he'll be there at number 21, are the Minnesota Vikings. Dennis Green told me, this is America. Everyone deserves a second chance. But perhaps even more interestingly, they have someone on their team they think would be a very good influence on Moss. His brother, Eric, the mammoth offensive tackle that the Vikings picked up at the end of the year. They feel that he would be a good influence on him. You also have to remember the Vikings have Chris Carter, who would be a mentor of sorts Dennis Green said, "We are considering him. It is not our immediate need, but they have not taken him off the draft board as other teams have." And one thing, Chris, the scouting reports that I read, interestingly said, one scouting report said, hopefully his older brother will be a guide for him and help him out. They are two totally opposite people. Back to you in New York, Chris.
All right, Andrea, thank you. What is interesting here, guys, is that he could go with this pick, or he could fall all the way to early second. I'm not predicting that, but that could happen. But as you look at Dallas, Michael Irvin, of course, Pro Bowler, but since Alvin Harper left, he really hasn't had a running mate on the field, has he?
No, Michael's had to really struggle on the position by himself. Look at the people. You've got Michael Irvin with 75 receptions, but anybody that's played opposite him, Anthony Miller was brought in, didn't produce. Stepford Williams, a young guy, still don't know. Ernie Mills is brought in now because Chan Gailey knows what he gets in that product. I think Billy Davis could be an answer for them, but only 3 catches, and Macy Brooks, 0. I personally think that Randy Moss, if he was to wind up a Dallas Cowboy, would be a good fit. Now, everybody would say, oh my gosh, why? Because I think Michael Irvin has grown up and learned a lot from his experience and can help a Randy Moss. Deion Sanders could be one of the most misunderstood players in football. This is a top quality individual who could have great influence. Both very visible men, both very strong personalities, could help out a Randy Moss an awful lot. And now you might have that player opposite Michael that'll help Troy out, help Emmett out, now help a Chris Warren, who's become a part of that backfield, and complete that offense. The line's okay. The wide receiver position is decent. It could be helped here. I'd be a little bit surprised if they do go this route. Personally, Chris, I think they need help in the defensive line more than any place in the Dallas Cowboys. But to me, a Randy Moss there, I could understand it. I could live with it. I could even almost justify it.
When Jimmy and Jerry began in '89, they were 1-15. Of course, they picked Troy Aikman right away, and the move began up. Of course, they had all those bellwether picks for Minnesota, a unique situation. Now, Mel, since Jimmy has left, the drafting success, of course, much tougher to draft at the time, at the bottom of the round. Right. But the drafting success of the Cowboys, they need a home run here soon, don't they?
They really, since Jimmy left, Chris, their track record has been horrible in terms of the draft.
Except for Larry Allen.
That's
right?
why, exactly. Larry Allen, the one gem in the second round. But when you look at the Super Bowl team and now a 6-10 club struggling, it's because you don't draft well. It catches up with you 3 or 4 years down the road. And certainly, I think the Dallas Cowboys are on the spot today. You already saw Jimmy Johnson trading down. Now he has 3 second-round picks. Jimmy's working the process. He's gotten Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, other players in the draft in the middle rounds. The Dallas Cowboys have not been able to have that kind of success since Jimmy Johnson left Dallas.
Well, let me tell you what's going on right now. As we suspected at the top of the telecast, the next spot for a running back, Jacksonville will probably take one at 9 unless a team moves up to 8 like New England. Of course, they lost Curtis Martin and the much celebrated offer sheet to the Jets. Now, you look at the 2 war rooms, they are talking in New England and in Dallas. There's a history of deals between these teams. That should be pointed out. So if Dallas moves down to 18, they should count on getting Randy Moss there too. And New England then might go up to take Fred Taylor ahead of Robert Edwards for the back that they would like next to Curtis Enos. Possibility?
That's exactly right,
Chris.
Chris.
It's a distinct possibility.
It is, and I think when you look at Jacksonville, we already talked about St. Louis targeting Enos early in the process. Jacksonville targeting Fred Taylor early in the process. Everybody knew to get Fred Taylor, you have to move ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think Fred Taylor, Robert Edwards, later first round. Is he going to be there for Kansas City? New England also has that running back need at 18 with 2 first-round picks. That's why, of course, they are thinking also of moving up to get Fred Taylor, which could allow ultimately Edwards to drop to KC. Holcomb also in the Chiefs' thought process, and also Skip Hicks. Early to mid-second round is where I think you'll see the UCLA product.
I predict a trade here. Do you? I think they pull the trigger here.
Well, I think when you look at Jacksonville, you look at Fred Taylor, he would be an ideal fit. James Stewart's down there. They want to run the ball. They know they have to keep that defense off the field, which was handled up front. Terrell Davis had a huge day in the playoffs, so they want that running back. Fred Taylor's not there. Then they go to Keo Spikes, but Fred Taylor is the team everybody in the league knew, New England knew the last week and a half, that we have to get ahead of Jacksonville.
Well, plus the other thing is what you wind up doing at this spot now, you're really talking about swapping ones and only going down about 8 to 10 places. You're not talking about 2 number 1s and the deal that Chicago wanted. So it's not a big stretch for somebody to start moving down here. Moving down from the 8 spot down to 18 is not that big a move. They can still get defensive help there if they need it. They still could possibly have the wide receiver if they want to go that route. It gives Dallas a lot of flexibility. I tend to agree with you, Chris. I think it's a good place for a deal.
Well, The suspense is killing us because the card is up and the clock is wound down. Do the Cowboys stay or do they go?
Well, with the 8th pick in the draft, the Dallas Cowboys select defensive end from North Carolina, Greg Ellis.
Well, we're trying to engineer deals here. We can't pull any of them off. I thought this be our second or third deal by now.
I don't think
the phone's out?
I don't think the phones are out. I just think that the price is too high that people are asking. And everybody says
because of Arizona, San Diego, that's probably changed the whole climate, don't you think?
Plus, this also fits a need for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, no question about that. I mean, they have Leon Lett in the middle, but they're a little light on the outside, and Shane Carver reportedly about to retire.
Well, the number 2 ranked defense, they didn't play like it, Chris. I think teams dominated them up front. They ran the ball. Dallas could not stop opposing running backs. They had no pass rush. Greg Ellis is a very athletic defensive end. He's up to around 280 pounds. Set the all-time sack record at North Carolina. Broke, actually, Marcus Jones' old record. Here's a kid, really a hard worker. I like Grant Wistrom, also very athletic. Diagnoses well. You see the ability to read and react very quickly. Locate the football, make the play. Obviously very consistent. You never have to worry about Greg Ellis taking a down off. He also has a long arm and the kind of wingspan that you want in a pass rusher. And we talked about Andre Wadsworth being a great kid. Greg Ellis is regarded as the team leader of a North Carolina Tar Heel football team, which the last few years was very effective under their former head coach, Mack Brown.
Well, this is a spot where, hey, Greg Ellis certainly could be an outstanding player, and Dallas hopes so. But where by not making a move or nothing being changed around the running back situation right now, that the draft has taken a turn. The defensive linemen, now they may come off the board a little bit quicker. So the trade was not made. Jacksonville is now on the clock. We take a look at New England's war room as they now go back. The front, it's a little empty here because now they're not slated to pick until 18. They'll get busy on the phones again. But now, if they're looking running back, they'll have to see what goes off in the next 10 picks. When we come back, we'll talk with Peyton Manning, the number 1 pick of the draft. Looking pretty good with that Colts cap. We'll be back.
Great. That tune-up. These AC Delco parts are about the most dependable you can buy. They should really help improve your performance.
Come on, they're all the same. I'll take some out of this bushel basket.
Okay.
AC Delco. No matter what you drive, if you're not asking for it, you're asking for it.
Home Depot's philosophy is cutting edge. What does the customer want? We always got something new coming out on the floor.
Things that you were wishing would get on the market, and all of a sudden, wow, there it is.
It's important to give the customer everything needed to do any project around their home.
Like great Grillmaster grills, the flame control system makes certain you get sure starts, even heat, less flare-ups, and perfect meat. Come see the complete line of Grillmaster grills at the Great Grillmaster event. It's happening this weekend at the Home Depot.
Yeah, Ted, let me put you on speaker. Hey, Netboy, tell my agent what you told me.
Well, if you access my Zone Games customized box score that compiles the player's net worth, you'll see that Mr. Salmon's RBIs put him well ahead of Sammy Sosa in fantasy baseball ranking, yet Sosa earns $5 million more.
What? Can you believe that?
Don't worry, Tim. I'll give Avasi on the blower.
Of course, Ted, it's just a fantasy baseball.
Shut up, Netboy.
Look, I'm your agent, Tim. Let me take care of this. Shut up, Netboy.
Sunglasses can help you see better. They can make you look cool.
Thanks.
Enable you to sleep on the job.
And this year, sunglasses can also help you save a life.
Just watch Cure by the Shore on QVC live from the Cannes Film Festival. Cure by the Shore is a special presentation showcasing designer accessories.
Net proceeds will benefit the National Women's Cancer Research Alliance.
Every pair you buy will help you see a cure for women's cancers.
Designer sunglasses and accessories at half price. Saturday, May 16th on QVC.
or participating Kawasaki dealers.
What should you expect from a dealership when you're shopping for a new car or truck? At Bill Utter Ford, you can expect a dealership that takes care of the little things. A dealership that makes buying easy. At Bill Utter Ford, you can expect an utterly affordable deal, like 1.9% financing on 98 Mustangs, Explorers, Escorts, Rangers, Tauruses, and ZX2s. It's been 42 years that Bill Utter Ford has been serving North Texas, and you don't stay in business that long if you're not taking care of people. Bill Utter Ford, utterly affordable and utter satisfaction.
8 picks, no trades. Greg Ellis selected by the Dallas Cowboys as the Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock with about 9.5 minutes to go with pick number 9. Let's head back down to Big D and Chris Myers. And Chris, the Cowboys thinking on their move.
Yeah, this was a guy that some people had rated a little bit lower down, but the Cowboys obviously liked him as a football player, needed help on the defensive line, had it rated right up there with Grant Wistrom. And in the war room earlier when they made the call, of course, Walt Chuliff, head scout, says, hey, have you been in an accident in the last 24 hours? Are you healthy? On the phone. Once he says, no, I'm ready to go, they put him on with the new head coach, Chan Gailey and Jerry Jones. The Cowboys were sold when they talked to Mack Brown, of course, the college coach at North Carolina of Greg Ellis, who's now the head coach at Texas. And Mack Brown, talking about the kind of person that Greg Ellis is, said, hey, if I died tomorrow, he's the kind of person I'd want him to raise my family. That's how highly I think of him. That's the kind of character in a football player the Cowboys are now looking for. Chris, let's go back to you.
Hi, Chris. Thank you very much. Well, you talk about character. We certainly have a man with character because the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. Let's go up to our Mike Tirico with Peyton Manning and his dad, Archie. Michael?
Mr. Berman, thank you very much. It's a wonderful day for the Manning family, as you would obviously understand. There can't be a more proud dad to see his son exceed what he did. Number 2 overall pick in the draft, number 1 pick. Archie, let me start with you. How proud and happy are you of this day?
Well, we're very proud of Peyton, and the whole thing, Mike, is just so exciting, as I know it is for so many parents around the country today. But sure, Peyton, we feel like Peyton's worked hard, and he's been very fortunate. He's had a wonderful time at Tennessee, but this is just a great honor for him, and as a family, we're real proud of him.
When Dad was broadcasting the Saints games and Jim Moore was the head coach, I know Jim Moore has told the story of you as a high school quarterback actually stepping in there at a pass in practice and being there with the team. How much of an advantage is that to know Coach Moore before you get there?
I'm glad that I do know him, and I've known him, for the past couple of years, sort of hanging around the Saints organization. But looking forward to playing for him and working for him. Obviously, I don't know him in the player-coach relationship, but I think it'll be a good relationship.
As a dad, what has been the worst part of this entire 4 years, all the build-up at Tennessee, all the awards? What's been the worst part and the best part?
Well, it's been a great experience, Mike. I think the toughest part, maybe especially with Peyton's mother, and a little bit, it was everything for the Heisman. I know Peyton was really ready for that to be over. Now, this has been a lot, too, and they've really raked he and Ryan across it for the last few months, but I thought both of them have held up to it real well, and this was kind of a win-win for everyone, but there hadn't been many low times. He's been very fortunate throughout his college career, and we've really enjoyed following him and supporting him.
Finally, as we wrap up, isn't it nice that you can wear your dad's number finally now as you go to the Indianapolis Colts, and explain why you couldn't wear 18 at Tennessee?
Well, 18's always been a special number to our family. Of course, my dad wore it at Ole Miss. That's what he wanted coming out to play for the Saints, but they didn't have it. My brother Cooper wore it when he was in high school. Of course, he was injured, and he's always been an inspiration to me. And I'm not a real picky guy. I'm not going to go to a team just because of a certain number, but the Colts had it available, and I'm looking forward to wearing it.
I'm sure Pops will now be at the RCA Dome enjoying watching Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts quarterback. Congratulations, and thank you from all of us.
Thank you, Mike.
Now back to Chris Berman. Chris?
All right, Michael, thank you, and congratulations to Peyton and to Archie, two wonderful, wonderful people. Archie threw for 24,000 yards in a career with the Saints that never saw his team exceed 500. Plus, it's oddly enough that Archie's best statistical season, way over 3,000, was the year the Saints won 1-15 in 1980. They're not looking for the same records in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning, certainly eventually. And he should start week number 1. But that's the decision to be made by the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Mora, who's with our Mark Malone. Mark?
All right, thank you very much, Jim. Obviously, you have a knowledge of Peyton, having coached his father and been around his father to a certain extent in New Orleans. Any reservations that you might have had in this process?
Well, Mark, one thing, I'm not old enough to have coached his father, okay? But Archie did, work for the Saints for the time that I was down there, and I got to know Peyton a little bit, probably not as much as people have speculated that I got to know him, but he came around the Saints facility a little bit there, the last few years, and